So with that, we have House File 2066. Representative Cagle, please introduce your bill and welcome and get started.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I would move that House File 2066 be laid over for possible inclusion. Is that correct?
That's
Um,
correct.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, there's a DE amendment as well.
Representative Cagle, did you want to move the DE1?
Yes, let's move the DE one to get the bill in its proper shape.
Great. So members, DE1 is now moved. Any discussions or did you, any discussion we get to DE1? Otherwise, we will make a voice vote on this. See none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? See none. The motion to adopt the DE1 prevails. With that, as the bill as amended, Representative Cagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. So House File 2066 is the Launch Minnesota program. And we have the Commissioner of Deed with us here today. So I'm actually just going to really do a quick overview and then leave it up to the program experts to really talk about this. But Launch Minnesota is focused on growing Minnesota's innovation economy by accelerating the growth of our startup ecosystem and attracting top technology talent to the state. It's comprised of a collection of grant programs, education and training, and a statewide network to connect and grow the startup community. Launch Minnesota will build on the previous efforts of the state to support and enhance our visibility and interest in the innovation ecosystem. Launch Minnesota brings together all key players, founders, venture capitalists, research, academia, business, and educators into one space. And the intention was originally to separate pieces of the initiative from state government, but currently the private sector doesn't have the capacity to take it over. Over the biennium, staff will continue to engage in businesses, higher education, investors, and communities to provide resources to match state investment to sustain and grow the locations and educational services available to entrepreneurs and startups beyond the biennium. And this program is still slated to spin outside, or is still slated to spin outside of the government and sunset January 2024. So with that, I will really, I'll turn it over to the commissioner.
Commissioner Grove, welcome to the committee, and please proceed with your testimony.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, Representative Cagle. We're excited to be here to talk today about Launch Minnesota. This is a program that was created a couple of years ago, really in partnership with both the House and the Senate, with Republicans and Democrats, and of course, the Governor's Office of Deed, with the belief that Minnesota was at an inflection point, that if we begin to do more things to create the kind of environment in our state where people want to take that risk and start a new company, and they have the support in those early days to make sure it's successful, we could really accelerate Minnesota's growth in defining the next chapter of the American economy. And in the past few years, that has begun to really happen. You've seen a record amount of new venture dollars come into the state, a lot more business starts. And of course, with the advent of COVID-19 and all of the challenges it has brought our state, you've seen business starts start to climb up too. And so it's been a really well-timed program to make sure that those who are using this moment of disruption in our economy to try something new have the supports they need from an educational standpoint, have the kind of grant dollars and incentives to take that leap and start something new in our markets. So we're very bullish on this program. It is at its center focused on equity and helping those entrepreneurs who might otherwise be overlooked find access to these funds. That is written into the statutes, both in terms of the program conception and in how we administer it. And it really helps those who might not yet be ready to get funding from a traditional venture capitalist, get their companies into a place where they can start to take in that funding and build companies that, again, are going to create the kind of jobs we need so desperately in our state's recovery. Again, as we've talked about in this committee, all those net new jobs we're going to get to crawl out of this $416,000 job hole, as it were, are going to come from small businesses and new businesses starting and creating new opportunities. So we're even more bullish this session than we were last time on the program. We're very grateful to Representative Cagle for championing this. And really, I'm going to turn over to the team, because one of the best decisions we've made here at Deed is who we've hired to help build this program, and Neil Mulgard, the director of Launch Minnesota, has just been a huge force of nature in making this program a success. She comes from Greater Minnesota, understands the startup ecosystem well. We're thrilled for her leadership in getting this off to the ground. And I know she's going to hand it over to Dave Hengel and Neil as well, who are going to talk a little bit about the impact the program has had. So thanks for having us. Thanks for considering this. And I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Grove. The next person is Director Morgan. Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Knorr and Representative Kegel. I'm Neela Mulgard, Executive Director of Launch Minnesota. It's an honor to join all of you here today. Darielle is going to put up a slide deck here. What she's going to be sharing, it's a model that really represents the holistic approach of Launch Minnesota. Startups and innovators are at our core, but all of these sectors are critical to build a strong and vibrant, innovative ecosystem. Darielle, do you see the slide deck? There, the next slide. Launch Minnesota is serving as the front door, a neutral central touch point that is bringing these sectors together to start, support, and scale new businesses and technology. We focus on 3 key areas: capital, culture, and talent. I'll walk you through our progress. We've awarded $2.8 million in 88 startups through our innovation grants, with another announcement coming shortly, which may fully allocate our second-year funding already this month. This was about 28% of the dollars requested by our startups. I'm proud to share 59% of our grant awardees are from targeted populations. Minnesota's had a record year in venture capital investment, deploying $1.8 billion. Launch Minnesota will continue to incentivize private investment through our grant match and other efforts. Second, we are creating a collaborative culture. States and countries that create an attractive environment for startups are surpassing those that don't. We first started by creating a collaborative statewide network, first of its kind hub and spoke model, bringing together these 6 regions, 8 hubs, and over 80 program partners. Regions were asked and encouraged to look outside of their organization and their city to leverage their strengths. These networks have come together, meeting on a regular cadence, leveraging programming, marketing efforts, and funding. They're customizing their local offerings, but accessing our statewide best practices. Due to the creation of this network, we entered a competition sponsored by the SBA, the United States Small Business Administration, which resulted in Minnesota receiving the SBA Super Connector Award in this January, along with 4 other initiatives across the nation. The SBA has identified that a connected and coordinated ecosystem is beneficial to entrepreneurship, and that's our goal. Third, we are working to develop talent and expertise. Through our partners, we've educated through Lean Startup Education over 635 entrepreneurs. Over 110 have received a certification. Also, a select group of our innovation grantees, awardees outside of the University of Minnesota system now have access to the university's expertise and one-to-one technical assistance through the new Discovery Launchpad MN. Launch Minnesota is creating strong pipelines and on-ramps, connecting entrepreneurs to the resources, talent, and capital they need to be successful. And the Minnesota Expert Exchange, in partnership with the University of Minnesota, is helping entrepreneurs find the right connections at the right time. I am really proud of the traction that we've seen in Minnesota's startup ecosystem in the past 1.5 years since our official kickoff. 92% of grantees confirmed that we've helped move their startup and technology forward. These startups are the engines of our future jobs and economic growth. We've leveled the playing field. We've increased access, opportunity, and funding to founders who are underrepresented. And we've amplified the story of Minnesota, increasing awareness across regions, the state, and nationally, with a reach of over 75 million. It has been a true honor to serve in this capacity. And I now have the pleasure of introducing Dave Hengel, the director of Bemidji Launchpad.
Thank you so much, Director Morgan. Mr. Hengel, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. Greetings from up north, and thanks for the opportunity to share my support for Launch Minnesota. My name is Dave Hengel, and I'm the Executive Director of Greater Bemidji. Being in economic development for 35 years, I've worked with virtually every DEED program. There's none I'm more excited about than Launch Minnesota. You know, I serve on both the advisory board, but also as the regional hub for the Northwest region. As a board member, I've noticed as we review the grants that a vast majority have come from the Twin Cities metro area, but I challenge you, don't let that lead you to believe that Launch Minnesota is unimportant to Greater Minnesota. In fact, I think it's the exact opposite. Because of Greater Minnesota's regions are in its infancy in building a startup ecosystem, I believe regional areas desperately need Launch Minnesota. In my role as regional hub, I can also observe the impact Launch Minnesota's had up north. Entrepreneurship is in the DNA of Northwest Minnesotans. Some of our Minnesota's greatest companies, Polaris, Articat, Marvin Windows, DigiKey, Team Industries, were all started by a Northwest Minnesota entrepreneur. Yet they did it without the benefit of a regional foundation to support startups. In a very real sense, in Northwest Minnesota, we are starting from scratch. With the support of Launch Minnesota's education grant, 14 regional partners have come together with a clear focus on supporting the next great startups. We've created a network of locally based entrepreneur navigators spread throughout our region that serve as entry points into our ecosystem. They are single points of contact, and they surround the startups with the supports they need. Because of Launch Minnesota, we are working together like never before in Northwest Minnesota. We're sharing resources, events, expertise, and mentors, and we're connecting with the other resources that Launch Minnesota has created statewide. Thanks to Launch Minnesota, we are laying the foundation that will serve our region startups for many, many years, increasing our chance at finding that next Polaris, DigiKey, Marvin Windows, or other great company. Thanks again for the opportunity to share my enthusiastic support for Launch Minnesota. That's the end of my remarks, Mr. Chair. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for your testimony. The last person to testify on this bill is Idnani. Ms. Idnani, welcome to the committee. Introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Anila Idnani. Thank you, Chair Noor and representatives, for your service to Minnesotans and for the opportunity to be here today. I am Anila Idnani, a Launch Minnesota advisor and a grantee. My husband and I moved here 11 years ago for work. Today, we are two of 4 co-founders of Habitaware, a mental health tech company and Time Magazine Best Invention. Habitaware is a Launch Minnesota research grantee, having recently been awarded a Phase 2 SBIR with the National Science Foundation. This matching grant enabled us to bring on a data scientist and electrical engineer for expert consultation. As I've said many times, the work we do at Habitaware, helping 1 in 20 Americans suffering from compulsive hair pulling, skin picking, and nail biting, would not be happening if not for our move to Minnesota. Minnesota has the trifecta of values needed to generate material prosperity. These are concentration, consistency, and cooperation. And these values are embodied in the Launch Minnesota program. Efforts are concentrated on bridging the gap in early stage funding, as not everyone has access to friends and family who can invest in their early product development. Additionally, Launch Minnesota consistently supports its grantees with events, connections, mentorship, and monthly gatherings to exchange knowledge. As well, Launch Minnesota has been instrumental in solidifying cooperation and community relationships between ecosystem builders across the state. Launch Minnesota plays a fundamental and critical role in supporting startup business innovation. The program is necessary to ensure Minnesota stays competitive nationally and internationally, and that Minnesota has the ability to attract top professional talent and spur future economic growth. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much, Ms. Idnani, for your testimony and the work that you're doing to contribute to the innovation ecosystem to the state of Minnesota. This is a program, quite frankly, sometimes I call it, the basement innovators who are getting the opportunity to be on the forefront to make a big difference in our society. As you all aware of, in this world right now, everything is about the internet. Everything is about technology, or something that I usually call tele everything. So this is a great opportunity. It's a great program, great initiative, and I'm proud to have been part of the initial launch for this program. With that, members, I see Representative Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And let me know, I've been having trouble with the internet today at the state office building, so let me know if that starts happening. And again,
Will do.
I've watched this program closely as I had one of the kind of the original ecosystems, Red Wing Ignite, in my community, and so have been excited to see startups originate out of my own community, and seeing how this has grown in this statewide effort. What I, to the other committee members, as you all know, I'm really a public-private partnership person. And that's what I really like about this initiative. It's so unique in so many other things that we do at the state level, in that it draws in so much private equity to these efforts. And it also, in doing so, really breaks down barriers that we often see in state government programs. Everybody's got to come to the table in order for these entrepreneurs like Miss Idani to succeed. So it's very exciting to me to see this happening in our state. And I'm wondering if Executive Director Molgard could kind of tell us more. We may often think about Boston or San Francisco when we think of venture capital and entrepreneurship, but can you tell us, where does Minnesota rank, and just how far we've come, and the fact that every state's doing this now, and so we have to be a player at the table. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Director Morgan, I just wanted also to note, I think, Director Morgan, you are from the Red Wing area, which is represented by Representative Haley. Please proceed.
Yes, Representative Haley, we are seeing a lot of traction here in the Midwest, especially Minnesota. The investors and businesses from the coast coming here. There are many rankings. It depends on which ranking you look at. Commissioner Grove has a bold vision that Minnesota would be one of the top 5 innovative states in the nation. We're not there yet, but we're making good traction. But it's efforts like this that will keep us competitive nationally and globally.
Representative Haley.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. No further questions.
With no any further discussion or questions, I just wanted to appreciate the testimony from everyone, and I would like to give it back to Representative Cagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. As I was hearing some of these, the testimony, I just kept thinking about Shark Tank. And so this is like our own Minnesota version of Shark Tank, which is a lot nicer, I guess. But I think this is a great program, and I really hope that we can get it across to the finish line. So thank you all very much.
Did you want to renew your motion as amended? I'll renew the motion for you. I renew, Representative Cagle renews her motion, House File 2066 as amended, be laid over for possible inclusion. So thank you so much.